Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be talking to you about the thing that has been the most requested for me to talk about since my Miary beginner guide, and that is going to be MOR stance, or MMO stance. Throughout this video, I'm going to be referring to it as MOR stance, and in this video, we're going to talk about how you use it, what the counter play is, how to play around the counter play, how you use it in neutral, how you use it off of your moves, just basically everything that there is to talk about utilizing MOR stance. It's been a couple of weeks since Miary came out. I haven't uploaded anything yet because I wanted to wait till I felt like I really understood how the character worked before I made any more videos on her, and I feel like by understanding... Oh, my controller fell off my lap. Sorry. I feel like my understanding of how Miary functions is at a good enough level where I can make more videos to help you understand more of the fine details of how this character works. So, if that's something that you're interested in, if you play Miary and want to know more in-depth stuff about her, there will be more videos like this in the future. So I would appreciate if you're not subscribed already to subscribe if you get anything of value out of this video. So, this video is first going to go into it assuming that you already know all of the moves out of MOR. Don't worry, we're going to talk about how those moves function in various situations and how you utilize them, but we're not going to go over each individual move and its properties or anything. I'm going to assume that you already know that. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about is Miary going into MOR on block. And we're going to start with this because it's the most common situation that's going to occur when you use Miary. And it's important to know that Miary has a variety of frames that she can go into MOR stance in. On block, she can go in there from anywhere from +4 to -8. And it's also important to know that when Miary goes into MOR, the frames on, say, like sidestep 2 here or 1-1-2 decrease by 3 frames, or increase, I guess, by 3 frames. They go +3 more when she goes into stance. So here you see we're actually punishable here at -11. However, if we go into MOR stance, then we will actually be -8. And this is a true -8. If I set up the opponent here to try punishing this with a down jab, then what you're going to notice that we actually do have enough time to be able to cancel the stance and low parry. So let's hopefully... Yeah, no, I have to set this up for 4 more hits. See how we're able to get a low parry there. And that means when we cancel out of stance, we are doing it on frame 1. So I guess I'm getting a little bit out of order here, but as a precursor to everything we're going to talk about, because it is really important to understand the timing and how you cancel MOR stance, because being able to cancel on frame 1 is extremely important. And the way that you do that is you just press down back. Really simple. You just press down back, and that'll cancel out of the stance and put you, importantly, in crouching. You will not ever go in the stand, and you will cancel out of the stance in crouching. And so this can be a little bit difficult to pick up on what exactly the timing is to be able to cancel the stance. You can see if I hit down back a little bit too early here, then I won't cancel out of the stance, and I'll just look like a big old idiot. So the timing for canceling out of MOR is when Miary's hand touches the ground. You can see if I hit the button a little bit early, see like that, before she touches the ground. It's actually going to be easier to demonstrate this if I do this after a move. So if I do like 3-1 and then go in the stance and down back, I did it way too early. So you see I just stay in stance and then I look like an idiot. But if I wait till her hand touches the ground, you see how I cancel there? See how I cancel there? And so it's also really important to know that you also probably want to block after canceling the stance. And so what you want to do in one motion is you want to press down back and then back. Just like this. Don't release your thumb from the D-pad, or if you're using a stick, don't go back to neutral. Just do it in one smooth motion like you're doing core circle back. So we do 3-1, press forward to go in the stance, and then down back back, so that we're blocking. And we're going to start talking about more advanced stuff, things that you can do like out of crouch, so we can do stuff like this, for example. But when you're starting out, it's really important that you're making sure you're canceling this and blocking, because that's going to turn moves that would normally be punishable, like 3-2, for example, for -10 into safe, but you have to have that timing for it. And again, everything that we're going to talk about in this video relies on that knowledge of how to cancel more stance. So that's why it's important I talk about this first. And that's why it's really important that you understand how this works. So again, one more time, what you're going to do, you press forward to go in the stance. And then right when your hand touches the ground, you want to be holding down back. And then so that you block just in one motion, go from down back to back. Don't release the D-pad and do something like this, because one, that's going to throw off your timing, and two, it's going to take more time to be able to actually block. Don't do something like that. Instead, just again, one smooth motion like this so that you're blocking. Simple as that. So now let's talk about how to utilize more on block. We're going to start with some of the stuff that's more minus. So 1-1-2 on block is going to be the most minus that you're going to go in the more -8. Miari's never going to go into more off of a move on block and be punishable. And so obviously this is high, so the opponent can duck under this and punish you here. But if they block it, go into here, cancel, -8. And as we just demonstrated, you can low parry here. You have enough time to actually be able to low parry after canceling the stance, meaning that the stance cancel is frame 1. So then that begs the question, what can you actually do if this gets blocked and you're -8? And the answer is not much. And this is also going to be the case for 3-1 into stance. And let me turn them off of punish here. But it's also going to be the case for 3-1 in the stance. It's going to be the case for really anything that Miary does that puts her into more at anything that's like worse than -3. And it's just that she doesn't really get to do anything, because even her power crush, power crush is going to actually activate on frame 7. So if they try jabbing you out when you do this and they do a down forward 1, then even that is going to beat out your power crush. And actually we can demonstrate that here by setting up the bot to do a down forward 1. So I set up the recording wrong at first. I did it a frame late, but as you can see, if I go into the stance here and I try doing power crush, 13 frame just beats it straight up. And because of that, you don't really have a lot of options you can do. I can't do power crush. I obviously am not going to be able to sidestep. So that means we are in effect like -9. Essentially, that's the way you want to think about whether you're doing that or you're doing this. You just have to think of it like you're like -9 right in their face and you have to block. There's just nothing you can really do here. Now, that said, this is how it works on paper. And if the opponent does like a down forward 1, some sort of 13 frame mid, then yeah, there's nothing you can really do. However, if they do anything that's slower than that, then you have a couple of options. For example, if the opponent here, for whatever reason, decides like, I want to take my turn and do something slower, down forward 4. Well, we obviously have access to power crush, but also heat burst, if we want to play it a little bit safer and not risk getting punished. And this can also be effective at the wall, because this can wall splat. So if the opponent is just going with the 13 frame option or whatever, and if the opponent has some sort of magic 4 option, like let's say that they're playing Steve, right, and they can back 1 you, then yeah, that's going to make this inherently extremely risky. But if they start doing anything slower, then you have options to be able to beat that. So that is something to keep in mind. This is obviously more of an advanced thing, because you gotta be thinking of exactly what moves the opponent's doing in the frames and everything, but that is an option. This is also the case after 1-1-2, although they have to be doing something that's specifically 15 frames or slower to be able to power crush through it. But if they are doing that, you can. And this also extends into if they are doing certain lows. So if they're doing like, let's say this down back 3, 22 frames, and this is a very common thing that I see at higher level. If I do this and then go for the power crush, that's going to counter hit launch me because my power crush is 18 frames and I'm -7. So when you do the math, that means any move that's 25 frames is going to trade with it. However, we have moves that are faster, namely 1-2, which is going to be 13. That's going to trade with a move that's 20 frames, and it's going to beat any move that's 21 frames or slower. In the case of these big, chunky down back 3, down back 4 lows, like what, Armor King has or Lars has, that's going to fall around these frames. And this is something that you see quite commonly. And so this is an option that you have. If we do 2 as well, and they do a slow low like this, boom, we get a counter hit launcher. nature, which is also quite nice. Now, again, you have to be very careful and very mindful if you're going to do this. You have to have a hard read because the opponent can just launch you out of this. You're -7, you're hitting a 15-frame button. If they do literally anything that's not exactly what I'm showing, then you can just straight up die for it. But again, you do have options. And the reason why I'm demonstrating these options with these slow moves in the beginning is because as we progress through the moves that we have, these options become more and more apparent and more powerful, because if we do something like, let's say, down forward 4, right? This is going to go in the stance at -1. And that means if we take the same example we had before where they do down forward 4, and this would just straight up lose, of course, if we did MOR 2 before after the 3-1, and I can actually demonstrate us getting counter hit launched here. Obviously, we'll go in and get counter hit launched in this situation. However, if we do down forward 4 and go in here, it will trade. Now, obviously here, it's not the best thing, but if they try doing some sort of 16, 17 frame move, that will work, and it gets even better if we do something like down forward 1-1, which is 0, then we just straight up win. So you can see how these options for us become better and better because, depending on the move we do, we're going to be able to beat more and more options that the opponent throws at us. That's why I'm talking about this and demonstrating this, because this is one of the more advanced concepts of MOR stance. Even though you might be super minus, or you might be -1, or you might be neutral, or whatever, you can counter what the opponent's doing depending on how slow the moves are and what you are into stance on block. So it's important to understand all of the moves that go into MOR and what the frames are. And so real quick, I'll just tell you all of the moves that go into MOR and their frames in order from most minus to least minus. Well, I guess in sidestep 2's case, it's going to be plus. So the first one that we're going to have is 1-1-2, which is going to be your slowest one into MOR at -8. Next one's going to be 3-2-1. Sorry, I almost said 3-2. 3-1, which goes in at -7. Back 2-3 goes in at -6. Down forward 4 goes in at -1. Down forward 1-1 goes in at 0. And then sidestep 2 goes in at +4. All right, so I'm actually from the future right now interjecting with this edit. I know, seamless. I forgot to also mention while running 2-1. I don't know how I forgot to, but I did, so I don't talk about it for the rest of the video. But it's fine, because just remember that the frames on this is also +4 in the stance. Same as sidestep 2, so the situation after while running 2-1 and sidestep 2 is pretty much exactly the same. So anytime I talk about sidestep 2 or anything that you can do after sidestep 2 or any of the situations, just keep in mind that while running 2-1 is exactly the same, so treat them pretty much as the same thing. Those are all of the moves that go into MOR stance, and those are all of the frames. All of that said, there is another aspect to this as well, which is if the opponent is trying to do a quick jab check. Also, something that you're probably going to see very commonly when playing Miary is doing something like a down forward 4 and then having the opponent trying to jab you out of it. And of course, we have options for this. So if the opponent does say 1-1-2 like this, and we do down forward 4 and go into MOR, we automatically enter a crouching state. And that means, if I would actually set this to punish, that when we do this, and I actually continue holding down back, and I actually punish this correctly, we can launch them if they try jab checking us. But it's better than that too, because we have MOR 4. And this is also something that high crushes and beats jabs. And now something a little bit more advanced, we can also cancel out of stance by pressing down back, and then we can do from crouch down forward 4, which also high crushes. And if we do it fast enough, you can see how cleanly we can beat jabs and force that mix-up from crouch simultaneously to give us a nice chunky amount of damage. This is doing 38. It's very, very strong. And if you get counter hit, it's going to be doing a little bit more, although it didn't give me counter hit there. There we go. It's going to be doing an extra 4 damage. So it's going to be giving us a total of 42 damage if we get that on counter hit, which is nuts. It's really, really strong. And so again, the input for this is going to be a little bit difficult. You have to press, after you go in the stance, down back, and then you have to press from crouch down forward 4. So while you are crouching, you press down forward 4. And what can be tricky about this is you can't let go of down back when you do this. If you let go of down back, you can see how we're going to end up eating that jab string. So what you have to do is you have to go down back, down, down forward 4, like that. And that is going to allow you to remain in crouch while giving you that from crouch down forward 4. And again, let me just demonstrate this again, a little bit slow so you can see my inputs there, but you see we get down back, down, down forward, and then the 4 button. And we did this quite slowly, and we were still able to go under the jab. And the other nice thing about this too is even with our moves that are -8, so let me set them up here so they do this after they block the full string here. This high crush is on frame 1. There's no frames when we do 4-3 here where we are standing, which means that even at -8 they cannot jab check us. And that also means if we do something like 3-1 and they try punishing us, and let me set them up so they actually do punish us here, boom boom, you see how that's a punish, right? But if we do 3-1 and go in the stance, then we can crush under their punish and then punish them for trying to punish us with either a launcher, or if we want to keep it a little bit safer, again, we can go for this 4-3, or we can go for that front crouch down forward 4 to keep crushing under their jabs. And so most of this pertains to, all of the moves that go into more on block that are minus. And in my opinion, the most important moves for you to use to go into more are going to be 3-1, and if I turn them off of punish, and they're going to be down forward 4. In my opinion, these are the 2 best moves for going into more. I believe that down forward 4, in my opinion, is the absolute best one. It is a counter hit launcher. It has fairly long range. It's a mid. It tracks to sidestep left, which a lot of people are sidestepping Miari's left now because they think that that's the correct way to step her. They're wrong. But that's one of the added benefits as well. In fact, I can actually show you here if we try sidestepping left. So if we do like up forward 3, which is +6, and then we do down forward 4, you see how this tracks? And that means, we got the angle right here, that we go in at +8 and then we get pressure from there. And that's one of the things that makes down forward 4 so good, is that it has a bit of tracking on top of it just being a really nice big mid and being able to put you in stance. And of course, on counter hit, it gives you a full counter hit launcher, which is really, really nice. 3-1 is also really good though, because it's just 13 frame safe mid. I mean, any string that you have that's 13 frame mid that's safe is going to be insane, and Miari's is no different. Again, we have that dynamic that we talked about before, where if we go in the stance, we can avoid an opponent's jab check and then force a mix-up on block, even though we're -7, which is already really strong. But then on top of that, if this hits, we go in at +4. And so this is going to be the same frame-wise as sidestep 2 on block, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But both of these things combined make this move really good. Besides that, back 2-3 is also really strong because it's -6 on block, it's +5 on hit. And so this is going to be the same on hit as 1-1-2, where it's +5. And the main thing about being +5 is that if you go into stance off of this and the opponent tries jabbing, it'll trade with your 2, your MOR 2, which is a counter hit launcher. Makes it very strong and very hard for the opponent to deal with. Then we also have down forward 1-1. Down forward 1-1 is really good if you don't have an opponent that's ducking the second hit, because it's 0 on block. So that means with it being 0 on block, like what we talked about before, you just have your options just be more of their options. They have to play a little bit safer. If you do down forward 1-1, go in the stance, they have to like down forward 1 check you or something like that. Or you could potentially really blow them up with like MOR 2 or something. And that it makes down forward 1-1 really nice. It's also +8 on hit, which means they can't really do anything, which again, something we'll talk about in a second. But the tricky part about this is that it's mid-high. So if you just throw this out and they duck, then you just die. So that's the caveat to it. And then lastly, there's sidestep 2. And I talked about this last because this move stands out in the sense that it is +4 on block. And this changes the dynamic of how you utilize MOR quite considerably. And the reason why is because now with all of these moves, like if we did down forward 1-1, which we just talked about, it's 0 on block. If they do a jab, and I'll set them up to actually do this here. In fact, they're already set up to do this. If they do a jab afterwards and we try doing 1, then we get stuffed out. But if we do sidestep 2, they cannot. And that means that now they have to eat the mix. If we do sidestep 2 here and they just keep jabbing us, then we can very easily and cleanly beat them out of it while simultaneously forcing a mix-up between our 1 and our 4. The tricky part about this, though, is that there is still counterplay. And some of the astute among you may understand, if you've seen the frames, that you can actually power crush. And even at +4, you can power crush through the mid. You can power crush through the 1. So then that begs the question, what do you have to be able to beat this? Because this means every single thing Miary does to go into stance can be beaten with power crush. And in fact, depending on the speed of power crush as well, and depending on the frames of Miary, even if we try doing all low out of, say, 3-1, power crush will just beat it. So if we are constantly trying to force a mix-up out of this, out of the stance, then we're just going to be beaten by power crush. Look, we're going to be beaten by power crush because it's 18 frames and our 4 is 17. So the only way for us to be able to make this out against specifically Miary, who has an 18 frame one, is down forward 1. And this is one of the things that makes down forward 4. And this is one of the things that actually makes down forward 4 so strong, is because most characters' power crushes actually are going to be slowed in 18 frames. Miary is one of the fastest in the game. Typically, they're going to be around 20. And that means if you do down forward 4 and then go into here, then 4-3 is actually going to be an option that beats power crush. And it's the same off of sidestep 2 as well. If we do 4-3, this is one of the ways you can beat power crush. So if you have a read that they're going to do power crush, that's something you can do. But also something that's not listed in the move list is that you can grab out of stance. And that is another thing that you can use to beat an opponent's power crush. Again, depending on the frames. So after here, like down forward 4, again, grab is going to be an option that we have to do this. And the nice thing about Miary's grabs as well is, you know, the generic grabs are going to break the floor, of course. However, she also has, of course, the grab that on break is going to put, actually, and let's do it like this here, put her on the wall. So if they end up doing power crush and we get the punish, that's great. If we don't, however, and we set the opponent to not punish here. So again, let's do this off of the down forward 4. Let me reset the wall, and then they're going to break, and they're actually a little bit too far away after that. So let's just do it like this. For the sake of example, boom, we can go on the wall and then go from there. So that gives you a little bit of versatility in your throws as well. Now, of course, the problem with doing this is that if the opponent just crouch blocks here afterwards, we get launched and we get launched. So even though it seems like a pretty clean option for us to beat power crush, it actually carries a lot of risk with it and can potentially get us killed. So if that's the case, what are the other ways that we have to be able to beat power crush? And this is one of the most important concepts I'm going to tell you in this video about Miary. It's important to not force the mix-up. And I'm probably going to make an entirely different video talking about this in the future, because part of this is, it's both inside the scope of this video, but a lot of it's also outside the scope of this video in terms of the theory and stuff. So I'm not going to have a full discussion about this in this video, but what I am going to tell you is that it's important that you don't just go into stance and constantly force the mix-up. Don't think that you always have to be whatever the opponent is doing. Don't think that you always have to be like, I think that they're going to power control, I think they're going to stand block, so I'm going to get my damage in because I did that. No. That is not something that you have to do. You can sit there and wait. Because if they throw out a power crush and you just block, -13. And here's the other aspect of it as well. Going back to what we were saying at the beginning, if we do 3-1 and just wait, and they try doing something dumb like power crush, boom, we get a punish. And on top of that, if we're just constantly sitting here doing like 3-1, going in the stance and waiting, and the opponent's always like down forward 1 check, right? The opponent's always doing down forward 1 check because they're familiar with what's going on, and they're like, I think he's going to hit a button, down forward 1, down forward 1. if they would do it this time. Down forward 1. Okay, I have it set up incorrectly. Let me do that again for the sake of example. So it doesn't look like Power Crush just beats down forward 1. You're like, wait a second. No, I set up the recording wrong. And so they might have a response like that. And if that's the case, then what happens if we go, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait. And then boom, if they do something stupid, then we can launch them. If they do something because they think, oh, they're going to hit a button, so this is going to be a punish, we can punish them for trying to do that. And then eventually what's going to end up happening is we're going to do this and we're going to keep blocking the down forward 1 or whatever. And they're going to be like, they're going to start getting impatient and they're going to be thinking, well, they're not doing anything. So why don't I just do my big move? Why don't I just start doing like my big low, or I start doing my big mid or whatever? And then that is what leads to the situations where you have an opponent who's going to start doing something like down back 3. And then that's where we can start using more of our options out of MOR. We're not doing this. We're not going into the stance and doing this to try forcing a mix-up. Instead, what we are doing is we are forcing a mind game. That's the idea. We are forcing a mind game. And when we start seeing what the opponent's doing, when we start knowing what they're going to do, because we keep going in here and then blocking, we can punish their mistakes. If I could actually block, and combo, that would be great. But we're punishing their mistakes. And that is the key. And that's the key for everything in MOR, whether it's on block or on hit. And again, if they start doing things that are slower, depending on the moves that you do, that's going to open up more options for you. And this is something that's also true on hit as well. If we do, again, like 1-1-2, and we go in the stance, we're +5. We don't have to do anything at +5. We don't. That's important. We don't always do everything on hit as well, because after like our 10-frame punish, we can still get Power Crush through. Now, again, if we just don't do anything, we get more reward out of it. And with these plus frames, guess what we can do if I could actually do this correctly? Maybe. We can also sidestep them, as you can see. We can, if we have the right read, sidestep whatever move they're trying to do, their Power Crush or whatever, and then we can get a combo on it with our plus frames. And again, that's why it's important that we're not always just forcing the mix-up. Because what are we doing instead? We're doing like 1-1-2, and then it's like, cool, I hit this. And now what? And again, what if they crouch block? Then what do you do? Meanwhile, if we just don't do anything and we do this and we cancel stance and we see, ooh, they're crouch blocking after we do our 10 frame. They're crouch blocking to try beating this or to try beating this. Ooh, so what does that mean now? Well, that means we can start throwing out our mids. And this is where we get into part 2 of MOR stance, which is utilizing the moves you have outside of stance. And this is also important when it comes to the cancel, is that we have access to all of our moves outside of MOR stance if we have the execution for it. And the one I particularly like using the most is up 1+2. Right now, what I see a lot of Miary players doing, if they hit something like 1-1-2 and want to force the mix-up, is 1+2, and then if that hits, boom, they get bow 2. This, I don't think, is the right idea. I think that it's better for you to use up 1+2. And I'll demonstrate how to do that and why I think that it's better. So, if we are doing like 1-1-2, and we see that the opponent is just crouching here, that gives us access to do this. And when we do up 1+2 here, on normal hit we get heat engager, and on block we're +4. This is a degenerate, stupid, broken move. And abusing it is beautiful. It forces the opponent to respond because it also puts us in crouch. So if they end up blocking it, then let's do it like this. We also get access to from crouch mix, which is very, very, very strong, which is not something we get if we do more 1+2, which is one of the many reasons why I think this is better. So how do you do this? And simply what you do, you go into MOR stance, you press down back like before, and then just up 1+2. That's it. Down back, let go of the controller, and then press up 1+2. Because you can do moves that are on the up direction. So up, back, back, or up, back, up, and up forward while you are in crouching, as you can see. And so because of that, we have access to all of our moves in crouch. We have up 1 plus 2. Or, I'm sorry, we have access to all these moves out of MOR. So we have up 1 plus 2 like this. We have up 3, which is particularly good in heat because it's a full launcher while in heat. And we can also utilize up forward 3 because this is going to be plus 4 while we are in heat. All of these moves are very good options for you to be able to use. And understanding when and how to use these moves can be a little bit tough. But remember what I was just saying about if we do something, go in the stance and then wait it out. So we were talking about examples where the opponent is like pressing buttons. They're doing something that we can respond to with our other options in MOR to be able to catch them out. Like if they keep doing like down forward 1 after this, and then they start doing a big low, or they do a power crush after this, it's just like, well, we have options to be able to beat them, or we can just block it and then punish. What if the opponent is doing nothing? And this can be a little bit tricky because this is where a lot of people are going to be like, well, now I'm going to do my mix-up, I'm going to do my low, I'm going to do front crouch down forward 4. But you don't necessarily want to do this because if they crouch block once, you're going to get killed. And so it's important to understand the options that you have when dealing with opponents who are pressing buttons and opponents who are not pressing buttons. And up 1 plus 2 is a great move for that because it's forcing the opponent to respond. It's eliciting a response. And the reason why is because if we do something to go in the stance, and then we do this, 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 you can see how this is just an onslaught of plus frames until eventually we slide in a from crouch down forward 4. And so this is going to force the opponent to do something. It's going to force the opponent to have to respond with something, whether it's a button, power crush, sidestep, anything. And that's what's important. And the added benefit of this as well, if the opponent is choosing to crouch block at all, because they're trying to crouch block for, like, again, 4-3 or from crouch down forward 4, then this will hit and give you heat engager on a normal hit. And if it gets blocked, you're still plus 4. And if you have caused the opponent to be scared of this and start crouch blocking after this, well, now you know what you can do. You can do this, and this is a frame trap because it's a 13 frame move and you're plus 4. The other thing you can do as well, 1 plus 2, because you can do this from a while rising state. And you know what's even better if you're in heat? Not only can you do this to try catching them crouch blocking, but you could also do this. And that is really strong. Something that you can't get off of doing MOR 1 plus 2, because this leaves you at plus 6 in stance. It's much more committal. You can get flowed out of it very easily. And so one thing that you can do here is you can hold back to cancel the stance and be plus 6, but you're not getting that added benefit of naturally being in crouch and being able to force a big chunky low with your frames. That's what makes being able to do this and understanding how canceling the stance and doing up 1 plus 2 works and when to utilize it. Again, it's just go in the stance, down back, up 1 plus 2, and then you can hit confirm into while rising 2-1 if it hits. If it's blocked, you're plus 4, so you get access to a bunch of frame trap options, and it's forcing the opponent to respond. But it gets even better than that as well, because we don't just have access to our moves from up, our jumping moves, while we are in crouch, or while we were canceling out of MOR. We have access to everything. But one of the more important ones I'm going to point out is forward inputs, particularly forward 2. And the reason for this is because one of the options that the opponent is probably going to start doing that you're going to force them to respond with is sidestep left. And if we do, say, our up 1 plus 2 here, it can realign, but if we do it very fast, you can see how it's going to whiff. And so if we instead do forward 2, you see how that realigns with the opponent. So again, I'm going to demonstrate that again. Down forward 4, the opponent sidesteps because they're trying to be defensive, not attack into our buttons, but with threatening up 1 plus 2 and they want to avoid that, forward 2 will realign. And this gets better in heat because, and this is probably nothing I'll have a video on, this heat sequence, we have access to that kind of heat sequence, which leaves us +4, which means it frame traps into 3-1 to continue up this mental offense on the opponent while we are in heat. On top of that as well, if the opponent's back is to the wall, and we do this correctly, and I think I probably have to turn them off of standing block here. So let's say, as an example, that we do down forward 4, and they end up crouching, right? Let's just say that as an example. We're +8. They don't want to hit a button because they know we're +8, so they're going to try sidestepping to avoid one of our slower options. And if they do that, boom, 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 and then we get wall splat, and then we get full combo. If I dashed into it, wouldn't be a Sesujin video if I didn't drop the combo. But you see the point. And again, this is particularly powerful in heat, and this is something I personally have been doing a lot in heat, because while we are in heat, this gets enhanced. And then we get this, and then boom. I don't even think, yeah, I didn't. I thought that would drop. Oh my God. I'm really bad at my conversions in those scenarios. But still, you get the point. And then other options we have access to as well. We could do, say, again, let's have them block here, and let's say that the sidestepping left to avoid, like, our 1, as an example. While we are in heat, again, we can do this, because this tracks the sidestep left, which is the side that our MOR 1 does not track to. Up 3 tracks to that side, and so while we are in heat, boom, we get full combo off of that. Obviously really strong, and it's only -9 on block. And so what happens if they start sidestepping to the right? Well, if they start sidestepping to the right, this track sidestep right, and it's very easy to hit confirm when you see an opponent sidestep. But also a very important thing to note is that down 3 loses to sidestep right, but it doesn't lose to sidestep left. And so that also means that we can do down 3. But Seth, that's not on a jumping move. It's not on a forward input. It's not something I can do from crouch. So how do I do that? And the simple answer is timing. So I said in my beginner guide, I alluded to this, that when you go into MOR, you can cancel into standing with down, back, back, up, back. And the more I've played, the weirder and weirder that this sort of feels to me, but it feels more like it's timing based rather than you having to hit up, back, or anything to cancel out and then having this weird property. And I'm not going to be an expert and claim I know how this works. It might just be a timing thing and I'm being dumb. It might be something specific to me. I don't know how this works. All I know is that if you time your cancel correctly and you will go into standing eventually if you're holding back after a set amount of frames, and then you can do down 3. So if we do this and then this, you see how we get our low after our MOR cancel, and that's going to track the opponent sidestepping. Again, demonstrate again, down forward, down back, and then we just hold back, and then we wait a couple of frames, and then we can do down 3. Simple as that. And I found it easiest, you can see from my input, to do down, back, back. For whatever reason, for me, that makes it a little bit easier to get the timing. But you can see if I do it too early, even though I look like I'm in a standing state, I actually just get generic crouching down 3. So that's why it's very timing dependent. But as long as you do it right like that, you can do it extremely quickly. And so the advantage to this in particular is that if we do, say, MOR 4, 1, this is going to be a lot more telegraphed, right? So if the opponent tries fuzzy ducking for like MOR 4 here, then we can get launched if they get that read. And if we just do the 1, it's minus 12 on block, which is like, it's pretty good for what it is, but it only does 10 damage and it's -1 on hit. So wouldn't it be nice if we had access to a low that's a little bit chunkier but doesn't get us launched? Because again, the odd thing that we can do here from crouch down forward 4, which is a little bit less telegraphed, but if they're hard ducking for it, then that can also get us launched. So having access to our standing down 3 low is really good for 2 reasons. 1, it can't be low parried because this is a weapon or a magic attack, whatever the game designates it as. And 2, it's -14. So some characters, yes, are going to be able to launch it, but not every character is going to be able to, on top of it putting us in crouch. So that means if they didn't crouch block here, we could get access to our from crouch down forward 4. So again, a sequence like this would be like down forward 4, cancel, and then down 3. Something like that. And that could catch an opponent who's trying to fuzzy duck just because we're naturally throwing off our timing. And if we want to throw off our timing but still get a chunky low, we can do this, and then we can even down back 3, leaving us at +5. And if they try jabbing us out of that, depending on the frames, we could counter hit launch them. But then even outside of that as well, we can also use this technique and this idea to loop our offense going into more to add to the mental stack and add to the mental game. And I kind of showed this before, but if we start with like sidestep 2, try that again. If we start with sidestep 2, down forward 4, down forward 4, you see how I can just keep looping down forward 4 as long as I do the timing correctly for this. Down forward 4, down forward 4, down forward 4. And what I can do from here, if I want to add to this, down forward 4, again, if I could do this correctly, sidestep 2, down forward 4. And what this is going to do, the down forward 4 in particular might be saying, well, isn't that a little bit slow because we're -1 in the stance, and then we do this. It's if they delay their attack timing. So what I'll show to you, I'll set up a recording to demonstrate this here real quick. So I have the opponent here set up to do sidestep 2 and then down forward 4, down forward 4. And yes, you know, if we try doing some sort of like, you know, mid-interrupt, right? If we try doing this, then yes, you know, it's going to interrupt them. But if we do sidestep 2 and they try doing that, then we can catch them with, of course, a 1-2 or something, right? If we do down forward 4 and go into this and they try doing that when we are -1, then we can beat that out with something like Power Crush. And so what we're trying to demonstrate here is an opponent who's being very defensive, who's being patient, and thinks that they can catch you out with a delayed attack, and then they get counter hit launch. So that's sort of the merit to this. And on top of that as well, also another really important thing to know is that down forward 4 is a down forward button. And what that means, if you use a button in this game that is on a down forward input and the opponent does a high, then you will automatically frame 1 be considered crouching, and you will do the from crouch version of that move. And so you can see I have the opponent here only set up to do this one recording, this one action. And again, I'll play it here. Down forward 4, down forward 4. But if I jab in the middle of here, and if I do it with the right timing to demonstrate properly, try that again. You can see we get from crouch down forward 4. And again, like this recording hasn't changed. This recording is still exact. You can see I haven't edited it. It's exactly the same recording. But because we did that high, and again, it's hard for me to actually time it to get the bot to do it. There we go. Then we also get the added benefit of getting that from crouch down forward 4, even though we're just doing down forward 4, because it automatically goes under that high and gives us from crouch down forward 4, which is a huge added benefit of Miary's down forward 4, and is part of the reason that makes the button so good. But then if we don't want to do that and just enforce plus frames, you know, like another thing, we can do sidestep 2, and then we can do this, and then we can do that, and that's +3, and then here, and then here, and then here, and we just keep piling on the plus frames and piling on the pressure until eventually we sneak in a counter hit there after pushing him to the wall. And then we get full launch, which is another added benefit to learning how to do this. But then, you know, there are also other options we have as well. So if the opponent sidesteps left, as another example, and we do like this, and we think that they're going to sidestep left, or let's do this, right? Let's do something slow, -7. So obviously our 1 is going to whiff, but we have back 2-3. And so with the right timing here, you can see how we can use that to try catching the opponent's sidestep, which is a very common situation that comes up. Or even in this scenario as well, even though we're plus, you can see our 2 will still whiff here, our 1 will still whiff here. So even at +4 here, boom, boom, and then we can go into stance. But then we can also, if they're sidestepping left, you know what else we can do? Try 1 more time. Try that 2 more times, actually. 3 more times. Down forward 2. If we get the cancel time properly, yes, we can use down forward 2 to catch them trying to sidestep left. Now, this isn't something that comes up very often, and man, I just cannot get the timing for this apparently, or I'm screwing something up. There we go. But it is an option, again, that you have at your disposal, and this is just a synopsis of the depth that goes into the options you have available with Miary when you are in MOR stance in all of these situations, because you essentially have every move that she has both in and out of stance at your disposal. So there's another aspect to this as well, though, that's also important to talk about, and that is not going into stance. So everything that we've talked about up until this point is everything you can do, like if you choose to go in the stance. But it's important to remember that Miary, you don't have to go in the stance. Now, for some moves you do, right? If you do 3-1, again, if you don't go in the stance, you're at -10. It's punishable. If you do 1-1-2, it's -11. If you don't go in the stance, it's punishable. So here, yeah, you have to. But if you do down forward 4, you don't have to go in the stance. It's only -4. And so if the opponent is trying to down forward 1 check you after something like down forward 4, which is going to beat your 1. So if we just do this and go in the stance, down forward 1 just beats all of our options. So now we're having to be a bit risky and commit to either our power crush, or we're essentially so minus that we have to deal with this down forward 1 on block, which can be very annoying. What if we just don't? For one thing, we have access to Sabaki. And that's part of the reason why we have Sabaki. If we just do down forward 1 and they try down forward 1, or if we do down forward 4 and they try down forward 1ing us, we could just Sabaki them. Not something I generally recommend, but it is an option that you have. But you know the other thing you can do? You just backdash. Contrary to the popular belief, Miary's backdash is actually very good. It's one of the better ones in the game. I don't know where this idea of Miary's backdash being bad came from. I think it's because people just keep doing this with her. And the backdash timing for Miary, yes, is a little bit awkward. But if you get it down, her backdash is very good. And a lot of her moves facilitate the use of backdash. And down forward 4 is one of those moves. If we don't backdash here, then yeah, down forward 1's going to catch up to us. But if we just backdash... And I'm trying to do this more as an exaggerated thing to just to demonstrate. Yeah, I don't think the down 1+2 is actually possible, so maybe that's a little bit much. But, you know, regardless, right, we can backdash, and then if they whiff something like down forward 1, then we can just launch them. And the same is true if they down jab. If we set up the Miary here to punish with down jab out down forward 4, which again is going to be a more common thing because it's going to beat our options, it's going to beat our stance mix, we don't even have to backdash. We just punish her. See? She just dies if she does that because of the pushback. And Miary has so many moves that I like this as well. This is why I bring up with forward 2. Forward 2 has so much pushback that if they try doing anything, let's set them up to do that down forward 1 again. And this is a little bit outside the scope of this video, but I'm just saying this to state my point. They just get launched. And this is one of the things that makes the choice of being able to go in the stance or not with Miary so important, but it's also a demonstration of how a movement, her backdash is so good and it's strong for you to utilize. Doing something like sidestep 2 into backdash, you can see how powerful that is and how much more reward you could potentially get off that than just doing sidestep 2 and then go in here and like, yeah, they hit a button. Sure, like this is great. This is fantastic. Like, don't get me wrong. This is amazing. It's great that we get that reward, but when we do that, we're also having to contend with if they do power crusher, they do down jab, right? But if they do any of those things, like I don't know what these recordings even are. I'm just going to set her up to do all of them. I have no idea what any of these things do. But if I backdash, she dies. Well, she did the second hit there, so I didn't quite get the punish, but she dies. You see? Just this and then a simple backdash. And then she did down back 3, so then I died because I'm preemptively trying to down forward 2 punish her for the sake of demonstration for the video. But you get the point. And so that means that there are going to be a lot of instances where you want to do these moves and just not go in the stance because you get more, no pun intended, out of just backdashing and then punishing them, because no matter what they do to counter your stance, if you don't go in the stance, they get punished extremely hard for throwing that out. You don't have to hard counter them. You don't need to meet force with force. You don't need to bang your head against a brick wall in order to try forcing yourself to win the interaction. You just do the move, you back up, and then you can punish them. And that's it. And there's nothing that they can do about it. In fact, if our backdash is quick enough, actually, you can see my backdash wasn't quick enough there. Down forward 1-1, we can actually avoid here and then still launch. like that. And this is something, again, that's naturally built into Miari's move. This is an intended point of more stance, because now what are they going to start doing? Well, if they start seeing that and they want to chase you, what are they going to have to do? Chase you with lows. And when they start doing that, now we can go in and counter hit launch them. Now we can go in and counter hit launch them. And then again, hopping back to what we said before, well, now if nothing's working, if they down forward one, a down jab or power crush, and you just get backdashed out over and then launched and killed, and if they're trying to do lows and they get launched and killed, then what are they going to do? Well, they're just going to stand there and do nothing. And then that's what leads back to this scenario where we start just enforcing all of these plus frames until we either do a low and then kill them, or we force them to respond, in which case, when we force them to respond to all of this that we have going on, simple backdash, and then we launch them. A very important aspect to understand about how to utilize the stance. So that's pretty much everything that there is to talk about the dynamic and the mental game around how more stance works. I hope you understand why I waited a little bit to make this video until I understood the character more, because, no pun intended, I swear I'm not doing that intentionally, but I waited a little bit so I can understand this dynamic a little bit more, so I can articulate how this works better to all of you. That said, even though this is how the dynamics of more stance kind of work at its end, there are other ways to utilize it. Throughout this entire thing, we've just been talking about going into more stance on block or on hit of certain moves. What about doing it manually? So let's talk about manually using more stance. And so a big part of using more stance without doing a move before it is distance. Now, there are obviously going to be times where you want to go in here and then boom, boom, try hitting them with the mids or whatever. But a lot of the time when you're closer up to the opponent, you're going to want to be trying to use, like, again, you're down forward 4. In my opinion, the best move Miari has to be able to go in, or like 3-1 because you're trying to interrupt them. And if you just go into this and then they throw out some random mid or something and you get hit with heat engager, that's gonna suck. That's gonna be a bad day. And if you're trying to go in here and then do something like 4-3, for example, you can probably just get away with down back 3 because it does 21 damage as opposed to 24, but you don't have to be locked into stance. The real advantage of going into more stance manually is the extra range that you get. So like from out here, 4-3 will hit. You do not have a low that's going to hit out here. Yes, even down 3 will whiff, and that means manually going into more like at this range when you're outside the range of when most of your moves would normally hit makes it particularly powerful for approaching the opponent. On top of that, the frames as high crushes on are frame 6, and I don't have a great way of being able to set this up. Maybe this will work. So like if I do jab here and then go in the MOR, you can see I go under the jab. And where this becomes important is if the opponent is trying to use hives or something for keep out. So if I set up the bot here to, let's just say, do 1, 1, 1, 2, just as an example. Not that this is a very normal scenario, but again, we're just using this as an example. If I'm trying to approach, you can see I can use the stance to both approach the opponent and crush the high, which is something Miari actually has quite a bit of problem with, because down 3 high crushes on frame 12. It's quite bad. Down back 3 on frame 8, which is also really bad and obviously slow and launch punishable. And then the other move she has to do this that's not generic is down forward 3+4, which is -4 on hit and launch punishable on block, -15 on block, but it high crushes on frame 6. So your other option to be able to really do this is going manually into more stance. And that is, again, something that makes it good for particularly doing out here. The other thing as well is that you can get your opponent to twitch when you do this. I find it very common that when I go in the stance like this, the opponent will just like, oh, press a button. Just like, oh, launch. And if they start doing that, I mean, not only are you obviously going to be able to get a punish, but you also have access to something like more 2. You see how far away this hits from? little bit past range 3. I don't think it's about 3.5. No, it is 3.5. I don't think it's out here. A little bit farther? Yeah. So about range 3.7. So about out here, it'll whiff. But here, it will actually hit. And that means if the opponent is getting scared and they're attacking into you going into MOR, then this can be a really good option. On top of it just being mid to mix them up. But the counter hit launch, and this is actually quite nice. And then on top of that as well, you also have access to a faster option, MOR 1, which you can see is actually, again, hitting from quite far away, making your moves really long range. And Miary has a big problem with attacking the opponent from long range. So this helps you out a lot in that regard with your approach. And not just having you rely on like forward, forward 3, which will actually whiff out that range, funny enough, or down forward 3 plus 4, which will whiff out that range. It just gives you more versatility and more options in approaching your opponent and trying to do something. But on top of that as well, it increases the range of your other moves. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that this is a command dash. That's what it is. This is a command dash. And what a command dash means is it is a command that causes you to dash. And where this becomes really important is if I try doing like up 1 plus 2 from here, so range 3, it'll whiff. It'll just whiff. I don't have the range for it. But if I do MOR and then up 1 plus 2, it connects. And this can have consequences for a lot of the moves you utilize. Another one that's going to whiff from out here, like down back 1 plus 2, right? This will just whiff. But I can do this, and then this will connect. And so why wouldn't you just dash? Why would you choose to do more stance and do this instead of just dashing? And there are 2 reasons. One, again, beating the opponent's approach. So if I do this and then cancel, and I see my opponent has done a high, I can just punish them for doing that. If I've seen my opponent, when I go in the stance, do a high to try keeping me out, and I get that read, then I get a punish on that. And that is, of course, very good. I screwed up the combo again, as always, trying to do the fancy combo. I should never even try. But that's one reason for it. Another reason for it is that you have access to your other more powerful, fast options for beating out an opponent if they want to try stopping your approach or interrupting you when they see the MOR stance. If we just dash in and then do 3-1, this isn't going to have nearly as much of a consequence if we hit the opponent trying to attack into us as if we do MOR 1-2, which is another added benefit of it. You're getting fast moves that are more powerful than what you normally get in neutral to be able to stop the opponent from preventing your approach. And again, when you have an opponent that's being very conservative in their options to prevent getting hit by these moves, that's what's going to enable you to start your offense and your aggression. The other thing, though, is this is also letting us approach while being in crouch. Now, you could just approach and then do this, but that's going to be a little bit more telegraphed. A lot of the time with these lows that are like 18, 20 frames from crouch, like Yoshimitsu's from crouch down forward 4 is a good one. These moves are reactable, but they're not reactable because the moves themselves are reactable. They're reactable in the sense that you can react to the opponent going into crouch and then crouch when they do the move, because it takes a couple of frames to be able to actually do the from crouch down forward 4. If I just do this immediately, you see I get generic down 4. I did the input correctly and everything, but I just got generic down 4 because you have to wait a couple of frames after you go in the crouch before you do that. So if the opponent is is a strong player, they can react to you actually going into crouch and then just react to your 18 frame low with a crouch themselves. Now, they are getting themselves mixed with like Wild Rising 1 and such, but when we go in the MOR stance, this masks our crouch because we can do this so quickly. We can do from crouch down forward 4 quicker if we cancel out of the stance than if we manually go in the crouch, because we are already in crouch when we go into stance. And so that means that not only are we making it harder for the opponent to see our from crouch down forward 4, but also, again, we have other mids that we can use to mix this up. And if the opponent is near a wall, this is very safe for us and can be devastating for the opponent to have to deal with. But then the other thing to talk about as well, what does Miary do out at this range? And I think this is a tough question for any Miary play. This is something I'm still figuring out. If I do 2-2 as a punish and we're out here, what do you do as Miary? And one of the things that I have found to be a very powerful and effective tool is wave dash. And all I'm doing here when I do this, if you don't know the input, is just forward 3, down back, forward 3, down back, forward 3, down back. That's all I'm doing. Just forward 3, down back, forward 3, down back, forward 3, down back. And when we're approaching like this is scary for the opponent to deal with because, again, we have access to that too. And we can delay this stance for, I think, 60 frames or something, 40, 60 frames. And so if the opponent is scared of the stance or they're reacting, they're twitching because they're seeing the stance, and I don't have a great way to be able to set this up, then we can use 2 as a counter hit launcher like this. Just to wait a little bit, counter hit launch, and then we get full combo 66 damage on top of being able to get Oki afterwards, which is obviously really good. And so that's part of the threat as well. That isn't something we really get necessarily in neutral because, like, yeah, we could like dash up and down forward 4, but then what if it whiffs? Then we got a problem. But we can out here do 2 and it'll connect. We just have so much more range while accomplishing effectively the same thing. It makes the tool very strong. It makes wave dashing very strong. And then if we're out here, you know, and we start wave dashing at the opponent, we can also just back up, right? We can just back up. And if they whiff something like an idiot because we do this, and I was probably a little bit too close for the demonstration there. Oh my God, this controller sucks. I hate it. But if we're just wave dashing and the opponent whiffs something like an idiot, obviously an exaggerated demonstration because I don't have a great way to set this up to show you what I mean, but you get the point. If they whiff something because they're afraid of us doing this, then we win neutral and we get a huge punish, which is also an added benefit. And so that's going to make them scared to do anything against us when we're out here, because we're in here, we got that 2 locked and loaded. We're here, we got the 1 locked and loaded as well. But we also have access to this mix-up, so they have to do something. But if they're not doing anything, we can wave dash, ooh, and now it's bow. You probably weren't expecting that, were you? But that's something else we can do as well to get something even bigger if they're being scared of all of this, on top of, again, being able to mask our from crouch down forward 4 a little bit easier. And so now the next question is, okay, Seth, that's all well and good, but what about when you're at range 7? What about when you're at range 7, huh? What do you do here? Because if we just do this, nothing's hitting from here. We've talked about, like, oh, if they're scared, then we can do 2 if we're at, like, range 4, and then that'll hit them. Obviously, if they hit a button, that'll count and hit them at that range. But what do we do if we're at range 7, huh, Seth? What do we do there? Because we can't do while running into MOR stance, because we have while running 3. Which complicates things a lot. Having while running 3 is actually bad for Miary to have. Miary would probably be a better character if she didn't have while running 3 as a move, because then we would be able to go in the more from while running. And that means I should really set up a save state for this. That means if we're all the way out here at range 6.3, then we could just run in and do more, and then we could do all of our stuff normally, and we could high crush from there, and that would be our high crushing approach tool to be able to stop like Steve's back 1 or whatever, but we don't have that. We don't have that. So how can we utilize this out at this range? Well, we can wave dash. That is something we can do. We can wave dash and we can threaten them. If we see them trying to approach us and we know the range, then we can go boom, hit the 2. You could do something like that. That is an option. But what I'm going to show you all is something a little bit more advanced that you may or may not have thought of. Because what's the problem with going into MOR while running? We have while running 3. And all while running 3 is we are hitting the 3 button while we are running, right? While we are running, we are hitting the 3 button. That's it. So what if we just stop running? And the way that we do this is while we're running, we press back. And that cancels our running state. So what we can do is we can do this. And that allows us to go into MOR from while running, while being at the optimal distance to enable everything we just talked about with the wave dash and the counter hit MOR 2 and all of that. We just do that. We do while running. We wait until we're at about this range. We press the back button. That cancels our while running state. And then we just press forward and we go into MOR. And so another way that we can do this as well, like that. and that'll give us a wave dash. Or if we do this, like that. And this is also a way for us to be able to mask our from crouch down forward 3, or mask our approach in bow, like that. And because this is such a natural movement, we can go here, we can go back and forth, backdashing in and out, and they never saw it coming. And this is something I found particularly effective. I'm going to show you some examples of me utilizing more now, since we're at the end of the video. Just try to give you some actual, like, real world, real game examples of everything I'm talking about. But that is basically everything for MOR. That's everything that I think is important to talk about. So let's look at some examples from my locals that I had earlier today. By the way, big shout out to Odyssey Games in Kalamazoo, Michigan for allowing us, the Tekken players, to play there. There's only like 4 of us, so it's really nice of them to accommodate us, even though they can't host like actual tournaments at our locals because there aren't enough of them. So big shout out to them. If you're ever around the Kalamazoo area, give them a visit. They're really great people there. They're super nice. All right, so right here, so I hit them with Power Crush, right? And when Power Crush hits, knocks them pretty far away. So what I do here is I run up, and you can see I press back so that when they wake up by holding back, I'm at the optimal distance for my MOR attacks to hit. And then by pressing back, I'm also canceling my while running. I press forward 3, and then they try responding with a Power Crush, but I've already hit the 1 button when they wake up, and that allows me to get counter hit, and then I confirm, press 2, and then boom. I'm in heat now. I can do forward 2 at the wall. I get the counter hit after the sidestep. Boom, boom, boom. And then I get full combo here. I mess up the combo a little bit. And then I manually, when I'm here, go into MOR to try threatening the 1, end up hitting them with the 4. And now I try sidestepping. I don't quite get it, but then I do the Power Crush after they do the back 1. And then I get full combo, and then I kill them. So that's one example of using that cancel to allow me to be able to use MOR more effectively. Again, no pun intended, from long range for an Oki setup is using that back and then going into the stance manually. And you could see there in that scenario, it even beat Power Crush. So here, same game. Here's a lot of examples of MOR being utilized just to like use my fast aggression, but keep my moves safe. So I start with a wall jump here, and I wall jump, and then I go here. And let me actually turn on the frame info for all of you. Show details, show details. So you can see I do this, and I go in the stance at +9, and then I go for 4-3 because I'm confident he's not going to duck this. I'm +6. I go for down forward 4. He sidesteps to the right, which is how you avoid this move. Tries going for the punish, but you can see that I still go in the stance. And because I can go into this on whiff, his jab actually ends up whiffing. His punish, after he sidestepped my down forward 4, whiffs because I pressed forward, and that automatically goes into MOR, goes into crouch even on whiff. So now I'm able to actually completely block his punish. And it would have been better for me if I actually just stayed crouching and fully went under his highs, but I obviously don't do that. But that's just, again, an example of how I can, even though I end up whiffing, make my move safe even on whiff. All right, so here's another round where we have a couple of examples of how MOR in use. So here I do down forward 4, the punish sway, go in the stance, cancel up 1+2. This was a couple of games before the one I just showed, so it's a little bit out of order. Then he tries sidestepping. I do while rising 1, confirm it with 4. And so instead of doing like the down back 1+2, I feel like he's going to sidestep, so I'm just using my while rising 1 to try catching that sidestep, and then that's when I get the confirm instead of just going relentlessly with pressure. Again, the idea is that you're using the pressure to elicit a response, and then you have options to be able to beat that response, right? So run in, down back 3, and then go into the homing move to try beating his sidestep, keeping up the wall pressure, go in the MOR, cancel the stance. We're not trying to do anything fancy here. We're not trying to do anything. He steps on my toes, goes in the stance, is trying to push his way out of the wall. I jab, and then with my plus frames, manually go in the MOR stance to mask my front crouch down forward 4. And so we do that, guaranteed follow-up, and then manual MOR stance on wake up, and then do while rising 3. If it's blocked, we keep the plus frames in heat with the wall so we can link that in the forward 4-2 or something to threaten wall splatter or back 4 or whatever. But on counter hit here, we end up getting full combo. Now, I thought the wall was further away than it actually was, so the correct combo here would have just been down forward 1-1-1+2. Instead, because I thought it was farther away, I tried doing down forward 4 and then 2 obviously didn't work. So then after on wake up, again, I'm trying to do the mid. I'm do 3-1, go in the stance. And then I do front crouch down forward 4 because I think he's either going to do a high or he's not going to do an attack or he's going to do sway or something. So even though I'm -7, because I have that information, that lets me do the front crouch down forward 4, and then I get guaranteed follow-up, and that lets me take the round. So here's another example of how we can use this as well. So I do a heat engager. I'm dashing up on them. And again, you can see I press back here after while running. So let me take this away from when we get the heat engager. So we get heat engager here, forward 2, knocks down. We're at around range 4. I dash up, press back right after range 3. When, you know, if they wake up backwards, it would be just past range 3. They tech roll. And so now I hit forward 3 because I've just canceled it. They're in the middle of waking up. And now I can go in the bow stance. Because I'm obviously close enough after seeing the tech roll to know that bow stance is going to connect. And because my opponent doesn't have any heat, they don't have rage, I have heat, where the wall is and everything else, I choose to go for the 3 with heat engager. And the 3 or with heat dash. And even though I'm losing out on a lot of my heat, the positional advantage I get from this is so strong, I feel like this is the right thing to do. So I press 3, I do heat dash, and obviously a hit also would have killed. And then we go in here. He tries the power crush, down back 3 counter hit, and then we're able to close out the round from this combo. Bah. Again, something that you wouldn't have been able to do if you didn't go into more stands manually because you just would have been too far out of range. So I'm going to play this round as well because this is a really good example of just layering on the pressure, and play I'm playing against is very good at adapting and recognizing these situations. So a lot of these ideas are going to be stuffed out, but again, this is why we're showing real game examples. So here we sidestep 3-1. Go in the stance, cancel stance, and an up 1+2. So instead of trying to do anything from the stance, again, we're layering on the plus frames. We're doing that up 1+2 to try frame trapping. We do that sidestep and then go down back 1+2. He does magic 4, which is a great option. But now I know if he's going to do that, next time I do that, I can do the while rising 1-4, right? So that connects, gets the follow-up, sidestep, layer realignment, amazing. So now I go for this +3 with down back 1+2 because I have a feeling he's going to attack into this after he just did the magic 4 in the last sequence. So I do this, and then I try frame trapping with 3-1, and it works. He did press 4 again, so I end up getting my own 3-1 into stance. Except I don't go in the stance, I stay at +1, I just backdash, and then I choose to do the +3 move again, down back 1+2 to try catching him out with the variable timing. And again, I think he's going to hit a button here, so I do down forward 1, it trades with his 1, so we're at 0 right now, and then I do down forward 4, and then again, I down forward 4, cancel stance. Right, so I don't even, I do this, I don't do anything out of stance, I go back up, I wait for the timing, and then I 3-1, and now I'm plus in the stance, and now I do 4-3, because now I feel comfortable doing this, and if he's gonna do anything, I feel like he's going to do a high, and this is going to crush under that. So I do that, and then again, I sidestep right a little bit to try realigning with the wall, tried to keep up those plus frames. He has a good heat burst here to interrupt, and then we sidestep again to get around the down forward 1. Now just play patient. You know, we're going to lose the wall, but it's fine. End up getting a whiff punish on that, and now again, we're just playing it safe. We're playing small Tekken. So we do 1-1-2. We don't go in the stance here. +2. That opens up my down forward 1, and then I get access to 3-1 here, go in the stance, and then I throw in an up 1+2, because I've been playing all of this small tech, and I've been using so many of these fast buttons that at this point, I don't think he's going to hit the 4 button, because he knows, I know he's a good enough player, that he knows if he does that again, he will just die. So what I do instead is I cancel, and then I do up 1+2 to try layering on more of those plus frames, and then try frame trapping again with something like 3-1. Don't need to do that because it hit, so then I can kill. I shouldn't say 3-1. I meant frame trapping with while rising 1-4 because he hit the 4 button the last time. That's what I meant. Didn't end up having to do that because it hit, so I ended up killing anyway. And so just to play this round out in at full speed to give you an idea of how this looks like in full motion, because, you know, that was a lot of information. We were pausing it a lot. So again, wake up here, sidestep, There's the +3, frame trap, +3 again, down forward 1 trades, down forward 4, mental frames, go for the mix-up, sidestep to keep up the wall, heat burst comes out, sidestep the jab, 1-1, play it patient, eat the plus frames, eat the mix, don't duck for long enough, there's the punish, just do that small Tekken, 13 frame, plus frames to try keeping up the pressure, it hits, so we end up winning the round. All right, now let's show you this round against Brian. So, backing up, go in the MOR, try doing more too, try getting a counter hit launch here. Down forward 4 and then just do nothing. And what I recognized here when I did down forward 4 is that what did he do? He did a 17 frame move. So remember what we were talking about in the video, if they start doing moves out of this slow, the 2 will counter hit launch. This is why I'm showing you this round, because I recognize that. And then immediately, he tried doing core circle back 1 here, the 2 counter hit launched even though I'm -1. So this is going to bring me all the way to the wall here. Boop, boop, get full combo. Try going in bow stance for the mix-up. A little bit out of range. That's why I did the 1-4 there. He power crushes through. Very nice stuff. But now he's having to deal with the wall in the corner. I end up getting the wall. That combo drop. Thank you very much, Harada, for the $70 game. People play this game for money, by the way. Then we keep trying to sidestep to keep up the wall, and then we just go in the stance and do 4-3, and it's simple as that. And all of that came from that entire round was decided by MOR 2 counter hitting because we recognized that he was doing a 17 frame move after blocking down forward 4, because we've been doing so much down forward 4 in this set, down forward 4 block, down forward 4 block, that he started trying to do stuff that was slower, and that's where it enabled that counter hit, and that ended up winning the entire round. All right, and we got one more example here that I want to show. So here in this round, I'm in heat. My back is close to the wall. I go on the wall here. I go in the MOR. I think I'm close enough to do 4-3 for whatever reason. I'm clearly not. So I end up getting punched out of it. I do back 1 +2 power crush. It resets neutral here. And then I wave dash at my opponent. I see him sidestep. I visually confirm him sidestep right. And so that tells me do 1-2. And because I'm in heat, I get full combo out of this. So again, I'll do this again, just so it's full speed. Go here. I whiffed. He punished. I punished him. I do wave dash. I see him sidestep, and then I do 1-2 so I can heat dash for full combo with my wave dash. Now I get to the wall here. I cancel correctly, and the wall is closer than I thought. But still end up winning the round off of that heat dash, and if I did the right combo, then the combo would have killed too. Here's an example as well of how threatening MOR can give you that counter hit to launcher, or just being aware of what your opponent's doing can also facilitate this. So here, I get hit with heat engager. I do power crush to get out of it. I threaten with MOR stance. I threaten with MOR stance into the wave dash. He tech rolls, wakes up. I'm not staying in MOR stance. I'm just waiting. I go in the MOR again. I try doing MOR too. He counter hits me out. I'm waiting it out again. I go in the MOR again. I see him do the back combo step. And when I see him do the back combo step, I know he's going to want to do something. So that tells me to do MOR too. And that gives me counter hit launcher. And then I'm able to get full combo from here. Get the pickup. Boom, boom, boom. Go for Oki. It doesn't hit. And then I go under his power crush. Get a little bit of pressure in there. And then hit him with up 4-3 when he tries waking up. Because Miary is a very good, balanced, real Tekken character. All right, and so here's another example. So I get counter hit with Fong's back 1. We're out here. I do forward 4-2, reset the situation. Again, I do that run up and then tap back and then forward 2, and I get counter hit launcher. He tries to hop kick me here. Wall is right here. We get full combo, do the heat burst. I try readjusting. It actually works this time. Oh my God. Go backwards into stance on wake up, and then because of where the corner is, he can't backdash. He can always sidestep. So I go in the MOR. It realigns with sidestep. He tries to forward 3 to punish me. He gets counter hit launched because he reacted way too late. Again, this is offline on PC, so for some reason I thought that I still had the screw available after that. That's why I heat dashed into down 1 +2. But then we get the punish on heat burst. There's only 4 seconds left, so there wasn't much that could be done. All right, and that is everything that there is to talk about MOR stance. So anyway, I hope this video helped you out. I hope this video helped you understand the utility of MOR stance. I hope this video helped you figure out some more ways in which you can use the stance and integrate it into how you play Miary into your offense. And overall, I just hope this video helped you out. If you did find this video helpful, I would appreciate if you leave a like. Obviously, these videos are very long, so they take a long time for me to make. I would appreciate that a lot. It helps me out a ton. And again, if you want more Miary content in the future, I would appreciate if you would consider subscribing. That's going to do it for me, everyone. Again, hope you found this video helpful. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.